Yo, what's going on, Ghost here, and today I'm bringing you guys another comparison video between the AS44 and Welgun. Now you may be asking yourself, why are you making a video on the AS44? Now see, this gun is actually a secretly good secondary. It is really good as a secondary, and I just don't see a lot of people using it. Now that may be for a reason, but this gun was definitely good while I was running secondary. As a primary, because it's actually an AR, it's to me average. It doesn't really catch my attention. It's not an AR that really competes with the top ARs out there, because it just doesn't even have the range for that, to be honest. But as a secondary, given what it does have, man, it was completely fine. And we'll get more into that in just a second. But before we do, I want to say, if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. We're on the road to 2,000. We're about 90 subs away. Every sub does greatly help. And also, in my next video, bro, I'm gonna have a pretty crazy announcement, because this is gonna be good for the future of this channel. But anyways, man, with that being said, let's get into the comparison. And here we have the recoil pattern for the AS44. Now again, man, these recoil patterns are just so misleading, bro, because this seems like this gun's gonna have a lot of recoil, and even the fire rate, the way it sounds, everything. Like, you just think this gun is gonna be one of those guns that you can't control. Now that is true to an extent, because I did have a few class setups where I was experimenting, and I had a AS44 that I just couldn't shoot straight at all. No matter what I did, it just had this weird like shooting to the side type thing, and it was just hard to control. It took me a while, a lot of experimentation, and I finally got the AS44 class setup that, to me, reminded me of the one off the ground. Now this might sound a little weird, but the reason I wanted to make this comparison was because I ended up using this gun off the ground, specifically the green AS44. One time I came back from Gulag, I picked it up, and I was frying with it, and I was like, dude, this gun is godly. And every time I picked it up off the ground, it was always doing me well. And so I felt like at some point I needed to finally make an AS44 video. However, the only problem was that I did not have it leveled up. Finally got it leveled up a little bit, got the attachments that I thought I needed, and I got with the class setup that worked for me. Now I will say, for the magazine size, you can use just like 3 different options, but the one with the 50 round mag that gives you more fire rate and stuff, that's the mag that you want. That's the one that's off the ground on the green AS44. That's the one I wanted to mimic. And yeah, bro, the mag definitely made a difference. I had the 40 round mag. It was okay, I'm not gonna say it was bad, but like, I definitely prefer the 50 round mag. And we'll get into that in just a second as well, because there's actually things to do with the stats as well as to why I prefer the 50 round mag. But this gun, bro, like, I saw the stats. I took a sneak peek of the stats a few days ago to see like what I was using, how would I compete with the other SMGs and whatnot. And on paper, this gun definitely doesn't like scream godly weapon, but yeah, this thing's for sure a sleeper. Like, I was barely losing gunfights. I was going crazy with this gun. Like, man, if you guys get your hands on this weapon, bro, you guys are going to see the vision, bro. You guys are going to see the vision, bro, because this gun definitely, I think along with the Volk as well, the Volk, yeah, these two ARs, not necessarily great for, like, long range, but pretty solid for close range. It's kind of crazy, because, these guns are ARs, you know what I'm saying? We all know that these should be used how typical ARs are supposed to be used, but this kind of just reminds me of like the FFAR, if you guys remember back in the day. I'm sure a lot of you guys already do, but the FFAR was an AR, never got used as an AR, was just primarily a SMG, and that meta was pretty interesting for the time that it was out. I feel like the AS44 kind of fits that similar mold. It's not as good as a prime FFAR, but it definitely reminds me a lot in the position that the FFAR was in and how the AS44 is in currently right now. And the AS44 definitely a gun that I would say is pretty good. And once you guys hear the stats, I'm gonna be able to explain to you better. So with that being said, let's just get into the Welgun AS44. And here we have the Welgun's recoil pattern. And again, man, this gun's recoil pattern is very similar to that of the AS44's. Again, following the trend of a lot of these guns having very similar recoil patterns for whatever reason. But it is what it is. And actually, I wanted to make the comparison against the Welgun, because I felt like with the Owen gun, a lot of people might have been like, just, I don't know, turned off by it, because the Owen gun by far has overwhelming stats to just any SMG. And if a gun like the AS44, who doesn't have that crazy amount of damage, which you guys hear in a second, I feel like a lot of people would be turned off by it and be like, yo, this gun isn't that good. And the Welgun, a more sustainable choice, arguably one of the best SMGs in the game, or the best SMG for some. For me, it's like the second. But a lot of people like using this as the primary SMG. Feel like it's a good middle ground for the AS44 to be able to showcase its talents, because I feel like the stats that it has doesn't do it any justice. But anyways, speaking of these stats, for the first stat that we're going to talk about is the fire rate. And then for the AS44, we have a 923 RPM. And then for the Welgun, we have a 658 RPM. Granted, these aren't without fire rate attachments, so when you put on fire rate attachments, it'll be faster. But if you can figure out a way to get a good class setup where you can get the recoil booster, where you can get the fire rate mag, and I believe the fire rate barrel. I'm not trying to sure if the AS44 has a 45 fire rate barrel, but if you're willing to, or if you're able to get all fire rate attachments on your AS44, you might be able to push up that RPM to 1,000, which is crazy to think about. And I know for a fact that the mag that I put on it has definitely helped a lot more. I definitely preferred it more over the damage mag, just because it felt like it did more for me. And then the Welgun, same thing. Like I used the recoil booster. I believe I used the magazine that gives me more fire rate or damage or something like that. And I mean, it's just a really good gun, Nothing bad I can say about it. And that's why we decided to compare the AS44, because the Welgun is just a top tier gun. But anyways, man, moving over to some damages. There's actually something interesting about the AS44 I'm gonna touch upon when you guys hear these stats. So for 0 to 29 meters for the AS44, we have 40 damage to the head, 26 damage to the neck, chest, stomach, and then 26 damage to the upper leg and arm, 24 to the lower leg and arm. So off rip, those damage values aren't necessarily the most impressive, understandably so. And it's actually two things you could do, but I don't know if I would recommend to increase damage, because I just feel like the class setup I have now is a pretty solid class that you don't really need to do anything else to. Maybe change up a few things here and there to make it a little bit more fast, or a little bit more accurate. But for example, the AS44 has a damage mag, as I mentioned. I have used it already. I did not like it. It just didn't seem better than the 50 round mag. And there's also a barrel that I remember. It's kind of like the Owen gun, where it takes away body damage, but you get more headshot damage. And I theoretically, I feel like that would be pretty dope, because I'm already negating my damage by having the magazine. And I was gonna try it out, but I don't know. I was gonna try it out if this class setup didn't work out, but it did. And so I don't know how that plays out. If you guys want to go and use an experiment yourself, go ahead. I think that's a possibility to look at to make it a little bit more better, to have its crazy headshot damage. Because this gun, man, with 900, almost 1,000 RPM with really high headshot damage, like 40 headshot damage, right? That's a 6-shot kill. It's pretty interesting, you know what I'm saying? Like, definitely, a case here for it to be a really good secondary. Not SMG, just secondary. But anyways, man, enough rambling about that. For 0 to 15 meters for the Welgun, we have 53 damage to the head, 42 to the neck, 36 to the chest, 33 to the stomach and extremities. Obviously here, bro, clear advantage in damage for the Welgun, but the 300 RPM difference of fire rate is the saving grace for this, and that's what makes the AS44 really, really good. And the fact that the AS44 doesn't have isn't completely a marshmallow shooter, it still has a pretty decent damage. It's just, that fire rate, man, completely undeniable. And then 29 meters and above for the AS44, we got 35 damage to the head, 23 to the neck, chest, stomach, and then for its upper leg and arm, and then 21 for the lower leg and arm. For the Welgun, 15 to 20 meters, 46 damage to the head, 37 to the neck, 31 to the chest, 29 to the stomach and extremities. And then 20 meters and above, 37 damage to the head, 30 to the neck, 25 to the chest, 23 to the stomach and extremities. So again, damage advantage continues out throughout the whole time, except for maybe the 29 meters and above, the 20 meters above. That's when it gets kind of close for the AS44, which is good. I think the AS44, although I mentioned that it doesn't have the craziest range, it definitely has a little bit more range than the Welgun, I would say, especially when you get a class setup like this where it doesn't move anymore, or very easy to control. I feel like I made a class setup that's pretty easy to control, or maybe it's just me, because I've been frying the last few days. I've been able to just straight control my recoil a lot better. I've been putting my mind to it recently. I've just been going crazy with it. But I feel like for the most part, an average player would be able to use this weapon, because that's my goal here, is to I'm not trying to just spew some BS of oh, this gun is good, blah blah blah. I'm trying to actually make a gun that's viable for every type of player, not just good players, or I'm trying to make it so average players, or even people that consider themselves below average, be able to use these guns and have some success with it. That's the whole point of this. So I truthfully believe that this weapon could compete with those top tier SMGs. You guys might not believe it, but this gun definitely has the potential. It's literally a really high RPM, and any gun with a high RPM could compete no matter the circumstances, bro. The Mag 10, in terms of damage isn't the greatest, but 1,100 RPM, that's what makes it compete with every SMG. So you may not believe it, bro, but give it a try, man, and then that'll probably change your opinion, no cap. And so with that being said, let me know what you guys think about both of these SMGs, or I guess both of these guns. I can't say SMGs. Me personally, I do think the AS44 is capable of competing. I'm definitely going to use it a little bit more just to have fun with it, because this isn't a gun that just lets me down at all. Definitely a really reliable option. But yeah, man, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one, and I'm out. Peace.